Awesome. The recording is going. Thanks everyone for coming. As we kind of get started here, I'm going to take a screenshot of all of us here for the Elegant Themes blog. So let me fire that up. And then on the count of three, give me your best smiles. 1, 2, 3. Oh, you guys look so good, as always. Cool. Well, thanks again for coming. This is Divi Salt Lake City. I'm sure all of you know that. Most of you do. Today I wanted to demo how you can create a custom header navigation on your website using Divi Theme Builder, as opposed to the default one that just comes with the theme. So I'm going to share my screen. You guys can see this, I trust?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. So this is our default Divi navigation. Love it or hate it, that's what we got. But with more recent versions of Divi, we now have the theme builder option. And to get to the theme builder, so we're going to come to our dashboard, go down to Divi, and click on theme builder. And inside of theme builder, we have our default website template, which will always be there if you have nothing here, but we will have options to add things to the global header, global body, and global footer, which means anything that we create here will display on every page and will replace the default header, the default footer, or add something to the body of your website. So usually I don't ever add anything to the global body because there's nothing I want on every page that isn't a part of the header or footer. So we'll do the global header, and it gives me a couple options. I can either add a layout from a library that's already existing or build from scratch. And that's what we'll do. Let's build from scratch. And it loads the Divi Builder. Looks pretty simple, basic, just like we'd expect on anything else we would build from scratch. So from here, I'll just kind of walk through my process of how I go about building a custom header. And that is, depending on what I want in my header, I'll do a set of columns, but for now, we'll just do a single column. We could change that later. And I'm going to add an image for the logo, and we'll need to go in and add this. But what I like to do is I'll just add an image, and I'll click on our dynamic content button here, click on site logo. So my Divi theme options, if I've added in my custom logo, I can set that there. And at the same time, I'm going to set the link using dynamic content. I'm going to click the image link URL, and I'm going to set that to be the home page. So whatever the home page is in my theme options or my appearance settings, it'll always go to that page dynamically. So that's what I'll do. And then I'll add another module, and I'll just search for menu. And this is the website menu. I don't have one created right now, but I can select any menu I have from here. Okay. So I've got that set up, and this is where things probably start to get a little more advanced, because I don't want my links down below. I want them next to the logo. And so in my row settings, I'm going to go to the column settings, advanced, custom CSS, and then under main element, I'm going to do some custom CSS, which is pretty simple. It's just display flex, and then flex direction is going to be row. And I want everything at flex. I want everything to start at the beginning of the row, the column. So I'm going to do justify content, flex start. That way everything will always be aligned to the left. Now, there's a lot of spacing here. That's because the image has got some margins going on. And so I'm just gonna edit this image, go to spacing, and I want to take out some of the margin on the right. I want about 20 pixels there. And that should be good for now, but now I want it centered with the logo. So we need to go back to our column settings, advanced custom CSS, and I'm going to add in align content center. I think I need to take out, there we go, align items, sorry. So we got some extra spacing going on here because it thinks that the logo is probably bigger than it is, or is appearing. There we go. So just to kind of recap, we added some custom CSS next for the column to get the menu text next to the logo and to center it. And so to change all that, we added some custom spacing, margin spacing for the logo, and we're good to go. Now the logo is a bit big, and we can just set like a max height or width, depending on how your logo is. So sizing. Probably no more than maybe 50 pixels. Oops, 65. I think that looks good to me. Okay. And then from here, we're going to take out all the padding on our section. So section setting, spacing, padding is going to be 0. That'll get a lot closer to the top. And before we leave section settings, I do, just for kicks, we'll show you the like a background color of, we'll just do like a light gray so we can see it. And
Can I jump in with a quick question if it doesn't break your flow?
No, go ahead. Yeah, what's up?
Is there a reason that you use an image element instead of the logo option within the menu element?
Yeah, so I could use the image option inside of the menu, which is here, logo. I can add the image here, which would essentially achieve the exact same thing that we're doing right here. This is just habit for me if I want to move the menu apart from the logo.
Okay.
Some
So
people,
there's probably a little more granularity and control using an image instead of the logo option. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, and I'll show you some quick variations of why we might do that. Some different designs that I've done here in a second. We'll just fine tune some of what we're doing. So the menu module, for whatever reason, always comes with this white background in it. So if you are going to use a different color in your section, I always just come here to menu settings, background, and I just will either delete this color so it goes transparent, or you can select the transparent color so that it is like it adds like an important aspect to the CSS that's being applied here. So there's that. Now, this is a pretty common navigation style. Some navigations we like to add a call to action button, and I will just add another column in here. And depending on what I want, it'll always probably be like this one. So I give most of the space to the logo and navigation with a smaller column for a button. So we'll do that. We'll add a button. Click here. That looks great. But we can tell that it's aligned to the top left, not centered or any of that, or aligned with the other content. So we need to go to our new column, or let me back up. First, we need to go to our row settings, click on design, go to sizing, and we want to make sure we have equalize column heights. Click to yes. And now that it looks like it's applied our CSS from our other column. Okay, so we'll go edit our column settings, come to custom CSS, and it did copy the CSS that I had already typed in. Otherwise, we would copy this exact same stuff, and then I would only change flex start to flex end. So it's at the end of the row, all the way to the right. And now we've got a CTA button in our navigation that some people would probably call it contact us, or buy now, or schedule appointment, whatever the website, whatever your end goal is for someone who's going to the website, whether it's lead gen, product purchases, whatever that primary call to action is, you could do that here. Okay. So this is a custom thing. The only real advanced thing that we did is adding the CSS into the column to get our alignment just right. Okay. Now, for why we would split the logo and the navigation, we'll show you a quick example of that. And for that, I'll use this column structure here, where it's about 25, 50, 25% distribution. And we will move our button over again. And here, if I can hover, so let me give it to me. There we go. Grab our menu and bring it over. And typically, just our menu text, I can change the alignment of it to get it in the center, but looks like our CSS is being applied through our column settings again. So we'll come back to that, and we'll change flex end to center. And now we have another popular style navigation where the logo's on the left, navigation's in the center, and our CTA buttons on the right. So this just gives us some flexibility. Now, here's where things will start to get a little tricky. So desktop is easy, tablet and mobile, not quite so friendly. So you can see that typically, anytime we have columns, depending on the column structure, everything will stack top to bottom, going from left to right. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. So some additional CSS that we're going to have to add is in our row, because we want these three columns to be side by side on mobile and tablet and mobile. So we're going to edit row settings, go to advanced, custom CSS, and then we're going to enable our sizing for desktop, tablet, mobile. And we're going to add in similar CSS that we did before to get these to align. So display flex, which pulls them all in aligned, but all these columns have additional margin underneath, which is why things look a little wonky right now. Okay, so this is all we're going to add to the row to get those three columns in line with each other, is display flex in a row. Now we're going to come back. We're going to have to edit our column, and we're going to go to advanced tab, custom CSS, and we're going to have to add a line to this for tablet. So, but if I add a line without copying that first, it will disappear. It'll overwrite it. So we're going to copy it, paste it back in, and then I'm going to add margin bottom as 0. And you can see how it just brought all that up in line. And we're going to do the same thing for the center column. So we're going to copy this, go back to our second column, advanced, custom CSS, enable tablet, and paste that in there. And now things are aligned, and this will also carry over for the mobile view as well. Before I get too much further, are there any questions with what I've done so far? Anything I can go over again?
Yeah, Dustin, real quickly, when you first started out, you used the dynamic.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what that's for?
You bet. So be easier to go through the layers panel here. Got all these tools laying on top of each other. So dynamic content this is going to be a feature through a lot of things here in Divi, but what it allows us to do, and you'll see it, you'll know it's available when you see this icon here. It's got like the 3 rings and the plus sign. You'll see it at the end of text fields like this. Anywhere it's available, you'll see this kind of pop up when you're hovering. And this site doesn't have a whole lot going on, and we're not going to see a whole bunch here in Theme Builder per se. But when we're doing like post templates or anything like that, we'll be able to pull in like the post title, the post date, the author name, all these dynamic things that we could do statically, generating it, or we could always just pull it in here. So whatever changes on the back end when we're creating a page or a content, this will automatically pull it in. And so by doing the site logo, rather than selecting an image from the media library, if we do site logo, anywhere the site logo appears, because it appears in a few different areas through the Divi theme options, anytime we change it there, it'll also change it here in our navigation. So we don't have to change it here in the footer, wherever else we might have put it. So it just helps us streamline our efforts of not having to worry about changing things in multiple places. If we just use dynamic content, it'll automatically update it for us, which is nice. It allows us to create global elements or other things on the website without having to create everything individually, statically, and spend all the time updating it if anything were to change.
Thank you.
Does that help?
It does. Very
Cool.
much. Thank you.
Yeah, I love dynamic content. It is a game changer for me for sure. Any other questions? No? Okay, well, let's carry on here. So the next thing I do want to point out is our menu. Because we're applying display flex, it gives us this super narrow menu, which is not what we're used to, and it's certainly not what we want. And so we have to add some extra CSS for the mobile view, and it's not too complicated, but we'll take some extra steps here. So I like to, this is what I do to get so I can see it, is I'll click on the cogwheel here at the bottom for page settings. And this now allows me to click on this without editing the menu module or anything like that. So now I can see what happens when I click on it and what it looks like. And we're going to apply some custom CSS to this as a whole. And we're going to do that here in our page settings, actually. So from here, this window's open. I'm going to click on the Advanced tab, Custom CSS. And I've done this so many times, I know what this is. ET_mobile_menu. And we're going to set the width to be 100 vertical width. So it's going to match the width of the browser, basically. And we have to give it an important value to override the default that's going on. Even though it's 100% of the width of the browser, because it starts over here, it's a little skewed. So we have to give it a margin, a negative margin on the left, and we'll do negative, start with 50. 50 is too much. So this, I just kind of play around with it until I get what I want. That looks pretty good right there. I do like to bring it the top down just a touch, so it's not overlapping our logo or call to action button per se. So we'll just add enough there so there's just some extra space there on the top. And I'll actually set this for, I'll do a custom one for tablet and for mobile. And the way I do that here, in the easiest way, in my opinion, is to add what they call a media query with a max width of 768, which we can see here at the top for tablet view. So we'll do 768, another curly brace, and curly brace. And I typed that wrong. So now this is only going to apply to screens that are a max width of 768, which is most tablet screens in portrait view. We're going to copy this whole thing again. We're going to make some changes for mobile. Now, because mobile phones are a bit different, we have all different sizes of mobile phones. Typically, I'll do 440 for that, even though most of them will be much smaller. So if we dump this down, looks pretty close, but we do need to adjust our margin, which is why we do this. It's so that we can make our little tweaks so it's a little more precise. So anyways, that is a super quick view of doing a custom header and making some adjustments for tablet and mobile to get what we want a little more. And then from here, we can always just apply our mobile preferences to get things to fit a little better from there. So in the end, this is a more advanced, a little more custom approach to a website, but you will get, I think, higher value, better results out of it, and instead of a kind of a cookie cutter look. So there you go. Any questions so far? I'm sure I lost a few people, and I can paste these CSS snippets too if you're interested in them in the chat.
Thank you, Dustin. I'd be interested in those snippets.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sounds good. I'll stop sharing my screen here for a second.
Dustin, can I ask you a related question that's not part of what you showed? Is that okay?
Sure.
I think
Yeah,
it's
totally.
So I did a custom header, and I have a hamburger menu, and then I have just another clickable menu that describes, I mean, most people know what the hamburger is, but for those who don't maybe know what the hamburger is, I have menu next to it. Is there any way of adding like an additional, say, for instance, if I wanted on the desktop, I wanted to have the menu out at the same time as well as the hamburger, as you know, is there a way of doing that, or would you do it as a second section only on that?
So you have two menus. So you have one that you want displayed and another one in a hamburger. Is that what you're?
Yeah, like for instance, if I wanted a separate menu there. That's what happens is that the way that I have it coded, and it was off of a YouTube tutorial, was that it pulls it pulls menu and it collapses it into a hamburger. And so if I put in a second menu, it treats that as a hamburger. You know, it makes that automatically a hamburger too.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm saying that clearly. You can tell I'm a newbie at all this.
No, you're fine. So
it's a good question.
Yeah, it might help to understand some of what Divi's trying to do to help everyone out. And so when we have a menu, any menu at all, on desktop, it'll be fanned out. You know, we'll be able to see the whole thing. But once we start hitting these certain breakpoints, such as tablet and mobile, right? There's new CSS that's introduced, just like we were doing in our demo here, to turn it into a hamburger menu and put it into a dropdown, right? And so to undo that, there is some CSS tutorials out there, Divi specific tutorials that will undo that. So you can see you'll see the menu without it being in a hamburger or a dropdown. And you can even go the other way. So on desktop, if you want it to be a hamburger to start with, you can do that. And so that way you can have your fanned out menu and then like a secondary menu inside of a hamburger. But yeah, that's what it's doing based on browser size is why it does that. But there are tutorials that give you this entire CSS snippet you need to go either direction you want.
Yeah, so what I was wanting to do was, I have a lot of material, right? Enough for like 3 books. So to categorize it in one area, I can categorize it in one way, but other people might have an easier time negotiating to the information they want through a different system of categorizing it. So that's why I would want 2 separate menus. So I'm using the CSS on the homepage to override this long menu so I could get that hamburger button.
Mm-hmm.
But if I create a second menu, even if it's in a second section, it wants to collapse it automatically into the hamburger.
Right. And that's where I think you need the other CSS to prevent it from collapsing into a hamburger.
Okay. So if I look that up, if I try to Google it, it would be like second menu on desktop, one hamburger, one that's not.
So I wouldn't use second menu because that would confuse it, because there is already such a thing as a secondary menu inside of WordPress and Divi.
But I think that you lose it if you go with the custom.
The custom.
Yeah.
Right. I'm just saying, when if you're going to research something like that,
Okay.
I would leave that keyword out, because you're going to get all kinds of results that aren't helpful to you, because it's going to pull up something else.
So basically, using my public school English skills, I Googled Divi show primary menu as menu in mobile, and I got back how to show an open Divi menu on mobile instead of the hamburger. So if you like, I'll put this link in the text.
Yeah, put it in the chat. That'd be awesome.
But yeah, I understood exactly what you want to do, and of course, trying to find it that's the mystery of life.
Right.
This is what makes it fun.
Yeah.
Thank you, both. Great.
Cool. Yeah. Any other questions? Anything else I can show you?
Sure, Chris. Does someone else have any questions before I go? So,
yeah, you're gonna post this session up as a video, right?
Yeah. Yep. This will be a recording.
That's great. That's all I got.
Beautiful. So one of the things I was wanting to do was have the logo on the left, the title of the website itself in the center as text.
Okay.
Menu on the right.
Okay.
So I think that I had that. But when you do so I think maybe you already answered it. Instead of using the logo, you recommend using the image. Because
for the menu, yeah.
Yeah, for the menu.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I would, for something like that, where inside the column you're going to have 3 distinct modules that are going to be equally spaced, right? There's we could change the CSS slightly, so you don't need 3 different columns. You can just do, and let me just show my screen. We'll just go through it real quick. Oops. Okay. Let's go back to desktop. Now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of this down. So we have essentially you're going to want the same thing, the logo, the text of the website, and the menu, right? So I'm going to do one column, and everything comes here together, bunched up right at the beginning. So we're going to come back to our row, column settings, advanced custom CSS. And instead of where it says justify content, flex start, we're going to change this to be space between. And you'll see how it automatically just spread everything out. It puts equal space in between the 3 different elements.
That's cool.
Yeah. And so this will make it a little more flexible for you rather than confining it to a column, because columns they have like a set width, and it can be problematic if one thing is a bit wider than that column. Things will start to wrap. But this way, you'll get equal space in between everything. Looks like our menu here has got some extra spacing, which is bumping it up. So we'll see if we can take out some of that, and that fixed it. So there you go. So that's another quick little tip there if this is the kind of the structure you're looking for in your navigation.
Oh, that just solved a big problem because I was having a wrap problem. So that's awesome, Dustin.
Perfect. Yeah. I would recommend that. If that's all you're going to do, that's what I would do. For sure.
Brilliant.
Cool. Yeah. Anything else? Anything else I can show you guys? Doesn't have to be related to the theme builder part. We can show you other things too. But I do love doing custom navigations like that because it's a lot more flexible and gives it that custom look. Definitely justifies the value that people are paying for a custom website. We can definitely build whatever they want. So
sure, if no one's jumping in. Do all of the same features apply to like the custom header function that you were talking about? What you showed us here, like the customizations and all of that, and the design, how you would choose which section display, would all of that apply?
Yeah, maybe show how to go ahead and save this now as a header, and then how to use it on pages, because you may not want the same menu header, correct primary navigation on every page. And that's what gives it so much muscle as far as a design element, I think.
Sure. Great suggestion. Let's do that. Yep, good point, Chris. Let's finish the story here. So we're going to click save our layout here, and then we're going to close out of it. And because this is a new change inside of Theme Builder, we need to click this green Save Changes button. And we only have to do this anytime we add to our Theme Builder. Anything we change inside of an existing layout, we don't have to change that at all. So we don't have to worry about that. So if we're going to do another template, we'll add a new template. And if we want to do a specific page, like Chris was suggesting, or if on our blog post we want a different navigation, or even if there's to be more granular, such as post with a specific tag, if we want to give it something a little more unique, we could do that. So for now, we'll just do our privacy page. Why not? So we'll create template, and you'll notice that our global header has copied over. But if we want something different, what we'll do is we'll click on our 3 dots here to edit, and we're going to disable global. Okay, so now we just have a custom header, and from here, we can edit it, and it's going to load the exact same thing we just did, but now we can change it to be whatever. For you in California, we could do our CCPA Act, request removal of data, whatever. Change our button. So now let's go look at a real world example of what this looks like on the front end. So again, because we changed it from a global to a custom header, we have to save our changes so we can see it. And then let's just go to all pages real quick. And we're gonna, I think we need to publish this or just preview my work. So here's our, looks like our Divi logo didn't come through for some reason. So I have our privacy policy that has our new button, but on our main page, we have our request appointment button. And so now we have two different things going on, all done through the theme builder. Pretty simple.
Right. So Catherine, if I can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Okay, so you've got a lot of content because I just went back to your main website, catherineengland.com. And the question I have to you is, are you going to go ahead and consolidate all of these products, which would be choosing the right career, living with purpose, under the brand, which is Catherine England?
I've been building out a new one called Living with Purpose.
Okay.
And so all of that content will be under that one, and that's not published yet.
No, but that's why.
Yes.
I guess what I'm trying to drill down into is, because you're trying to, like any data set, there's a hierarchy to it, and it's the phylum and the, whatever, just like in science. So, and this is where your categories and all that come into place. We've got like the data queen here in Chicago is Becky, and she used to run Chicago WordPress. And she did this ornithological website that had hundreds of thousands of pages, had like 50,000 authors, and she created this thing that was completely searchable, manageable, and searchable, all with WordPress. And it sounded to me like when you were asking the initial question of Dustin, how to go ahead and have your primary navigation on mobile be expanded, that you're kind of struggling with the weight of all this content and how best to display that.
Actually, Chris, it's just the opposite. I don't want it displayed on mobile. It's just too much on mobile. I wanted both of them. I wanted two options, two different ways of exploring it on the desktop.
Oh, that's simple then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. But anyway, this Becky person was able to do.
Yeah, Becky Davis. Yeah.
Becky Davis. Okay.
And she's like old school WordPress. She was really, really active probably 8 years ago. I mean, like you couldn't go to a WordCamp and not see her speak. And I know that she still probably answers her email. Let me see if I got it, because even if you just Google her, you'll come up with like old stuff that she did at WordCamps, and her ability to manipulate and allow people to search through and drill down into what they're really looking for quickly is magical. I mean, the lady is like I said, she's like the database queen. So let me just Google her. Yeah, Chief Geek Project Manager. That's her.
Brilliant.
Yeah, here we go. BeckyDavisDesigns.com. I'm going to pop it into the chat over here.
Thank you so much. What a great resource.
Well, no, I mean, because it sounds like you have, and it looks like you have just a ton of content, and you can wrestle against it, or there's go find the person who's the best at it and just pick their brains. And she's always been really great at helping the community. So, but like after running the WordPress meetup for like 8 or 10 years, she burnt that out and she turned it over to some other folks, to Scott, what's his face, and can't think of his name, and some other woman. But
wonderful. Thank you so much. All of this is so helpful. Yes, because I have lost hours, actually more than just days. When just a few weeks even. So yes, all of this is really great. Thank you.
Yeah,
Totally.
technology is wonderful, but the learning curve can be crippling.
Sweet. Good resources. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, anything else? Anything else anyone has questions about? Happy to show whatever.
No, this was awesome. This is really cool because I'm not real savvy with the whole theme builder. Because most people don't pay me enough to do super customized sites. I mean, I could, but it's like, so I've got stuff to play with sometime later this week.
Absolutely. I think you'll become addicted to it because inside Theme Builder, you'll see that you can do templates for blog posts, so posts and your category pages and a search page, all that stuff that you're like, well, I don't want that sidebar there, or I want to do something a little different, or the fonts don't match, or whatever. And so you'll be able to do a lot more because of Theme Builder.
Yeah, maybe if you wouldn't mind, can you just go through just some of the other features of Theme Builder? Because, like, you know, I came out of, I was a lifetime subscriber to ET before Divi came along, you know.
Yeah.
So I still kind of have that old school perspective on how to, you know, wireframe. So, I mean, the coolest thing I thought when I saw Divi was like, wow, there's a wireframe and I'm building it. This is awesome. You know?
Yeah.
But one question I have for you, like, you did everything on the front end, didn't you? You did everything that you showed us today. You were in Visual Builder, right? In the visual portion. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we didn't have to. So historically, we'd have to create custom PHP files to override an archive page or a post page for that template. And Theme Builder is doing that on our behalf, but giving us the complete power of Divi behind it. So yeah, let me just share my screen again.
And here's another question for you while you're getting there.
Okay.
You know, I've got a couple sites that I built in Extra, and like customizing the bottom menu bar, you know, like the credit bar, is completely different. And I can't think of his name right now. The guy from Aspen Grove helped me out. Yeah, no, the other one. He lives in Kentucky or Tennessee now. He helped me out with some custom code to get the footer I wanted, but it was like completely different than, because it's being done in something different, I guess, in PHP and not HTML or something. I don't know. But okay, I'm all yours. I'm going to shut up now.
Sweet. As far as I know, the Extra theme has got a layer of Divi in it, and so I think these things are there. But Extra's extra. It's different. So, anyways, here inside of Theme Builder, as I kind of alluded to it a little bit ago, there's all these different things we can apply templates to. So we got all of our blog posts, or we can do specific categories. And then we got all of our archive pages, or we can be a little more specific and say just our category pages will look a certain way. And we got projects and other. So a custom 404 page, a search results page, we can do all that. As we add other plugins that might create what's called a custom post type, they'll add to this. So if you were to install WooCommerce, for example, we'd see a whole nother section for the checkout page or the shop page and product pages. And we can customize all of those right here using the Theme Builder. So let's just do another quick walkthrough. So let's just say we're going to do all posts because we want our blog post to be a certain way. It's going to inherit our global header, and we'll add a custom body to it. And again, just with Divi, we'll just do a single column here. But inside of Theme Builder, we do get a couple extra modules that are exclusive. And one of those is post content and post title. So if we do post content, here we can just style the way all of our headings look, our body copy, everything. Typically related to text, we can style here. And We got rid of our sidebar. And so anytime we publish a post, we don't need to build with Divi to get a certain look. We can build that here and then just use the block editor to create our content, which is nice for websites that have multiple collaborators for content, where you've hired a content writer. You don't necessarily want them to mess with Divi or anything that you're doing. You just want them to paste the content in, and then you would control it with Divi using Theme Builder here. So just kind of want to show you this super quick because I think it's kind of neat. So if we were to just do something kind of wild and outlandish here for some of these, so we can click too soon. So I'm just kind of going quick. So these settings that we're changing are going to apply to our block editor. So when we add in some of that content, it'll take on the styling. So let's just save that. Let's go create a post, add new. So you can already see that where it says add title has inherited the style that we set just barely. The test, use our default editor. And so this isn't inheriting the text color that we had. So if we do heading, you can see now it has our Aladdin styling going on here. So some of this is, I think it's just neat. So even as you're typing here in the block editor, we kind of get a more realistic sense of what it's going to look like once it's published. So the Divi is kind of manipulating the WordPress block editor. So
yeah,
why did it inherit the colors?
I think just because the block editor is pretty basic and has its own stylings that probably have an important characteristic applied to them.
I see.
So
if you went up and used the Divi Builder, would it then accept those variables that you put in?
So if we enable Divi Builder here, it would ignore what we put in our theme builder. So, yeah. And just as a quick little tip here, if you have something like a post, like you don't want to use Divi, you want everyone to use the block editor. If you come inside of Divi theme options, click on Builder, and then this option right here says enable Divi Builder on post types. And I want to disable it for posts and projects. You can only use Divi on pages. That will prevent. So now when people are creating posts, Divi is no longer an option. They have to use the block editor for content. And this will keep your theme builder design intact. So this is something I do all the time when there's other people who contribute to the website.
Mucking about in your website.
Yep.
So, okay, so if you'd actually put in some graphic elements, either images or CTAs or anything like that, in that specific layout, when you went to the block editor, when you went to Gutenberg, that stuff appear?
Yep, totally will.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because I've got the block editor completely turned off in most of the sites just because I don't like it.
Yeah. And it comes down to preference. But yeah, let's just preview our thing here real quick. And so there's that in our H2 in our image.
Gotcha.
Exactly as we styled it in Divi. So pretty cool. So Catherine, going back to your question about dynamic content, let me just show you this really quick. Kind of the power. So we have a template for post, but you probably noticed we didn't have our post title on there because it was missing. It didn't say test at the top. So I'm just going to add a text module here. Now I'm going to put it at the top of our post content. But before we do, I'm going to click on our dynamic content icon. Okay. And so now we got a ton more options here. I'm going to do the first one. It says post archive title. Okay. I'm going to click on the cogwheel for settings, and it gives me some before and after text fields where I can put content before and after, and it does respect HTML types. So I'm going to put an H1 tag around the title and save that. And because this is an H1 and it doesn't inherit what we just said above, so I need to come style it. Like the Aladdin font, we'll do that, and we'll make it Divi purple 60, and then we'll just stick it above our content here, just like that. So this is your dynamic post title. So that's just kind of a placeholder saying that we're using dynamic content for our post title. And now when we come back to our demo, our test demo, it shows up. Our title of our post is test. And if we're to edit our post title, testing 1, 2, 3. Let's preview that. It's just dynamic. It pulls it in automatically for us. So that's just the power of dynamic content right there for you. So we created one template. We're using dynamic content to pull in elements like that, the title, and we're styling it. And so now we're done. Now we don't have to rely on content editors to use the right Divi layout or global elements or any of that. They're just block editor. We've already done the design, and it'll be that way. But if ever we want to change it down the road, we just change it in one place, and it will reflect on every blog post ever created. So,
and when you go ahead, like, you know, in all the emails that we get from ET of all these new layouts, we just go ahead and import those into the library, not at the page level.
Yeah. So yeah, the tutorials will tell you where to import them, because there's a few different places to do that. If you're importing a layout, then most likely you'll create the layout space, the template for it. And then once you're in this view, you'll click on this portability icon and import that layout.
Gotcha.
If what you're importing is a whole chunk of template layouts, then likely you'll use this portability option right here, and import all theme builder options for that project.
Gotcha.
So yeah, so definitely the tutorial will explain where to do it. And if it's incompatible, if you're just guessing or you think you might have figured it out, if you try to import a layout file into theme builder, it'll tell you it's not compatible. So
yeah, I ran into an issue a few weeks back where I was trying to restore content on, you know, somebody had been in a website mucking about and they made a bunch of stuff disappear. And of course I had a backup of the site locally. So I spun it up in desktop server, and I was going to go ahead and export a bunch of page layouts. And I couldn't, for no matter which location I tried to import them into the live site, they wouldn't come. So yeah, we worked around it differently. So
yeah,
which is another great feature of Divi, is being able to go ahead and, you know, actually I think what I did was I just threw it up on my host, you know, live host, and then once, I think it was just a problem with the local server, my local and dev environment was not cooperating with the export. Like, the XML file had nothing in it.
Right. Yeah. Gotta love those little nuances. But yeah, I love the flexibility of Divi. Just even be able to pull a design or something and pull it into another website. Huge time saver.
Yeah.
Even if I am restoring something that was broke.
One of the things that I have found to be really helpful is the history on it, because, while I'm new and trying out new things, sometimes I do something and I can't, I've made a mistake and I can't seem to find where I made it to undo it. So going back to a previous saved spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Clears that out. So it's a brilliant feature.
Yes. Love revision history inside of Divi and on just pages in general. That's been a lifesaver for sure. So
Awesome.
Great.
Hey, I had a question. Where did you disable Divi Builder for the pages globally?
Oh yeah. So that's under, you go to Divi theme options and then click on the Builder tab. And then it should be right there. I'll give you a list of all the post types and you can toggle them on and off.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, there for a long time, you could disable Divi Builder that way, but it would still appear. People could still enable it, but it would not work. But it would ruin the entire layout. And so you'd have to revert it back and do all this magical stuff to undo what they did. But now Elegant Themes has fixed it. They removed the button entirely. So people don't ruin what they're doing. So
All right.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any last questions? We're a little
No,
over our time here, but
it's totally awesome.
It was really helpful.
yeah. Thanks for coming. You guys had some awesome questions. This is great. So for next month in November, I am teaming up with Divi Chicago, Chris's part of the world, and they're doing what they call their Black Friday Bonanza. And so there's going to be a big community event with a lot of Divi like plugin developers and other people in the community, just kind of showing off their product, what they've got going on for Black Friday. And yeah, it's a tradition now. Anyway, so I'm assisting them in putting that on, and that's going to be, I think we've planned the Monday before Thanksgiving. Have to double check the notes, but anyways, so I'm not going to do my traditional meetup on the second Wednesday. Instead, we're going to do it in conjunction with Divi Chicago for Black Friday Bonanza. So yeah.
Very cool.
So you can plan on it.
I'm sorry, that's just for clarification. So we'll get a link to that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah.
beautiful.
Yep. Yeah.
Exciting.
Yep. I'll send out typical email notifications, and you'll probably even see some more from Divi Chicago as they're putting those out. But yeah, so that's gonna be the plan for next month. So yeah, I don't have a speaker or another Q&A, but we're gonna do the Black Friday.
Yeah, the most helpful Divi groups that I've come across are Salt Lake City. That's what you guys go by? SLC?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Sacramento, Atlanta, Chicago, and then there's some users out in New York that are pretty awesome too. So that's like the big five,
Yeah. And we're the ones that all do stuff together, which is
yeah, it's awesome. Which is how I found the other ones, right? Exactly.
yeah,
But always good sessions.
totally. Yeah.
So yeah, Catherine, go join them all.
Yeah, totally. So anyways, so you guys can expect that next month, and I'll just send out an email letting you guys know, and we're just waiting to firm up some things for that event next month.
Awesome.
So talk about it some more. Anyways, again, you guys, thank you so much for coming. really means a lot to me that you guys take the time to come and be here. So Eric laughs. He's here all the time. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Dustin.
Thanks,
So,
man.
yeah. Thanks, Mike,
Yeah,
for coming.
Huge help. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. We'll see you guys next month.
Bye. I don't know how to get out of this.
It's just the red hang up button.